For my second film analysis, I decided to use the documentary It's Elementary, talking about gay issues in school. I chose this because I honestly think it is a topic that needs to be talked about. I know this is not about my opinion, but this documentary, its goal was to decide whether or not LGBT plus should be talked about in schools. It was the first film to give adults practical lessons on how to even talk with kids about gays, lesbians, and prejudice. I thought it was really interesting that many students shared how often they got bullied, or students were really brave enough to talk about how they were prejudiced. And one student said he felt like he just didn't even think about it. He would be rude. He would call people the F word. I don't like saying it. And the teacher even stopped one girl when she said the word. She said, okay, let's stop right there. The girl wasn't, she said, the teacher was asking about if they wanted to learn about this or what they'd like to know, and the girl referred to gays, lesbians, and the F word, and the teacher stopped her and said, okay, we're not going to use that word, which I like that. I appreciate that, because it's just a condescending negative word, and it's one thing to call someone a lesbian, it's one thing to call someone gay, but a negative word is not going to help let students learn how to treat each other with respect. But I did like their honesty for the ones who said how often they say cruel things without thinking. And I also thought it was really interesting how the younger kids seemed more open and welcoming to it, but I thought that some of them were just too young to really understand, because in one part of the film, a kid talks about how, what if two females, one of them has a disease and the other one doesn't know? And I don't think they really comprehended the real reason why they were talking about it, but the other girl did. She said, well, a man and a female could have a disease and not know and give it to them. I think they were thinking of two girls being together as gross, that they could have a disease, but them being able to talk about it was actually very, very beneficial, even if they were too young to understand it, which means it's good because then they would understand it. So, the significant issue in education that this film addresses is prejudice and homophobia. It was very good at allowing us to realize what actually goes on in classrooms, what students actually talk about, and how they interpret things, especially things they don't actually understand. Students will talk about gay even if they don't really realize what it means. The schooling population that is most affected is K through 12. I don't think it's a specific area. I think it's everywhere, and it is not just one grade level. This film targeted all grade levels, mainly middle school and elementary, but I think that even high schoolers need to still talk about it. It needs to continue. This documentary taught me that it is a little bit more prevalent in other areas than where I live. And I wasn't really aware of that, because, yeah, I would hear people being rude here and there, but most people in this area are they're just kind to each other no matter what. And I grew up being taught to love everyone around you no matter what, and just because they do something you may not agree with does not mean you can treat them like a bad person. And even if you do agree with them, you don't be rude to anybody. That's just how I was taught. Honestly, for the last question that was for the written part, it says, how does this film correspond or differ from what you've learned from other sources? I've actually never seen a film or anything like this, so I thought it was really good because, like I said in the beginning, it was the first film to give adults practical lessons on how to talk to kids about it. And I was really glad I chose this one because it has opened my eyes even more, and I think it is something that actually needs to happen. I like what they were doing. I think it needs to continue. Kids need to be taught at a young age to respect everyone, no matter what. If we're taught to not be racist, we also need to be taught not to be homophobic and prejudiced. So that's not my say-so, I guess. But, well, yeah. I think it's a great documentary and everyone should watch it.